The sun beats down on your neck with the merciless heat of a Texas summer, baking the ground until the dust rises in a fine choking powder with every step. The air smells of sweat, leather, and an unholy mix of tobacco and pine. You stand in a field of 1,000 strangers, yet you know them all. They are Rough Riders, a wild, unruly legion of men gathered here in San Antonio to make history. Just 2 months ago, you were a ranch hand from the Arizona Territory, a man whose days were measured by the rise and fall of the sun over the vast, empty plains. Your hands were calloused from the feel of a lariat, not the grip of a rifle. But the news of the Maine, the war fever that swept the nation, was a force too powerful to ignore. The call to arms came, signed by a name that felt more like a myth than a man, Theodore Roosevelt. You didn't hesitate. You traded the solitary life of the open range for the camaraderie and chaos of a volunteer cavalry regiment. Your comrade, a jovial ex-policeman from New York named Alistair Big Al Callahan, wipes the back of his hand across his brow, leaving a streak of mud. "Never thought I'd be sweating this much in May," he grumbles, a good-natured complaint. "This ain't no Fifth Avenue parade, is it, cowboy?" You just shake your head, a faint smile on your lips. You know what he means. The past few weeks have been a blur of relentless training. You've learned to march in formation, to execute drills that felt foreign to your body, and to fire the new Krag-Jorgensen rifle with a surprising amount of accuracy. Your horse, a sturdy bay with a stubborn streak, is the only piece of your old life that has made the journey with you. The bond is a wordless comfort in a world of constant noise and command. Roosevelt, our commander in everything but name, is a man of 1,000 contradictions. He is a whirlwind of energy, his spectacles glinting in the sun, his voice a powerful, resonant roar that can stir 1,000 men to a fever pitch. He has the mind of a scholar and the heart of a brawler. He rides with you, drills with you, and pushes you all past the point of exhaustion. "Gentlemen, we are not here to parade," he declares one morning, his hands on his hips. "We are here to fight, and we shall fight with the ferocity of a wildcat." You believe him. You believe every word. The weeks bleed together into a grueling routine. The days are hot, the nights are cold, and the food is a monotonous cycle of hardtack, tinned meat, and black coffee. You are a part of a motley crew, Easterners who speak with a refined accent and a surprising amount of grit, Native Americans from the Indian territories, and hardened frontiersmen like yourself. Despite the differences, a brotherhood begins to form, forged in the crucible of shared hardship. You learn the names and stories of the men around you. You learn to trust them, to depend on them. Then, one morning, the word comes down. Orders have arrived. It is time to move out. You are not riding. You are taking a train to Florida. A wave of excitement mixed with a hint of disappointment rolls through the camp. Your horses, your partners in this adventure, will be left behind for now. It feels like a betrayal, but the orders are clear. You are going to war, and you are going by train. The journey is a spectacle. The train cars are packed, the heat stifling, but every stop is a triumph. Crowds gather at every station, waving flags and cheering. Women hand you flowers, children reach out to touch your uniforms, and men salute you with teary-eyed pride. You are not just soldiers, you are a symbol of a nation's patriotic fever. The headlines raid about the Rough Riders, and you, a simple ranch hand, are a part of a national sensation. When you arrive in Tampa, the scene is one of magnificent, monumental chaos. The city is a swamp of humanity, sweltering under a relentless sun. Thousands of soldiers from every corner of the country are crammed together, a sea of olive drab and khaki. The air is thick with the smell of coal smoke, unwashed bodies, and the distant saltiness of the sea. The docks are a nightmare of disorganized supplies. Crates of ammunition, boxes of food, and piles of gear are stacked precariously, a logistical puzzle with no clear solution. You and your regiment stand in a state of confused limbo, waiting for orders that never seem to come. Your impatience turns into frustration, then into a kind of simmering rage. You've been training for this, you've sacrificed your life for this, and now you are just sitting here, waiting. You see soldiers from other units trading stories, rumors, and cigarettes. The word is that there aren't enough ships to transport everyone to Cuba, that the supply lines are a mess, and that a single-minded general, William Shafter, is in charge and has no idea what he's doing. One night, as you sit on a crate, staring out at the endless lights of the port, Roosevelt returns from a meeting with the brass, his face a mask of grim determination. The story spreads through the regiment like wildfire. He has taken matters into his own hands. He went to the general, and with the help of a sympathetic admiral, he has secured a transport ship, the USS Yucatan, a converted passenger steamer. The news is a jolt of pure adrenaline. You don't have time to think. It's a race now, a frantic scramble to get on the ship before anyone else can. The Rough Riders, ever the unconventional soldiers, break ranks and charge for the dock. You and your comrades run, pushing past soldiers from other regiments who are standing in bewildered confusion. The docks are a chaotic scene of shouting, pushing, and the frantic scramble to load gear. You don't know where Big Al is, where Reggie is. You just run, your heart pounding. You get to the gangplank just as it's about to be raised. With a final push, you stumble onto the deck. You are on the ship. You look back at the dock and see a company of regulars. Their faces a mixture of astonishment and fury. But it's too late. The ropes are cast off and the USS Yucatan begins to pull away from the dock. You made it. You are going to Cuba. As you stand on the deck, you are finally able to take a breath, but the relief is short-lived. The conditions are appalling. The ship is designed to carry a few hundred passengers, but it is now crammed with over 1,000 soldiers plus mules and supplies. The air below deck is stifling, a rank cocktail of human sweat, diesel and sickness. You are packed in like sardines, shoulder to shoulder, with barely enough room to sit. The first few days at sea are miserable. The ship rolls with a sickening lurch, and the vast majority of men, unused to the motion of the ocean, succumb to a violent stomach-turning nausea. You manage to keep your balance, but the constant rocking and the smell of sickness make even the act of breathing an effort. The food, which was already bad, becomes almost inedible. You spend your days on deck seeking a moment of fresh air, staring out at the seemingly endless blue of the ocean. The convoy of transport ships stretches for miles, a vulnerable flotilla on a vast hostile sea. The rumours fly. Spanish warships are rumoured to be lurking just over the horizon. Torpedo boats, invisible in the waves, are said to be hunting for their next target. You and your comrades, men of the land, feel an unnerving sense of vulnerability. On land, you had a rifle, you had a horse, you had a fighting chance. Here, you are just a target. Your only defence is the immense size of the convoy and the distant shapes of the naval warships, your guardians against the unknown. But the fear is a quiet, constant hum, a bass note beneath the surface of the loud, boisterous life on the ship. You pass the time with stories, with games of poker, with arguments about politics and philosophy. You learn more about your comrades in a few weeks on this ship than you did. Isn't just a rich kid. He's a fiercely loyal friend who will share the last of his water with you. You learn that Big Al, despite his blustering humour, has a quiet, thoughtful side. Then one morning the word spreads. A low rumble of excitement passes through the men like an electric shock. You rush to the railing, pushing past a dozen other soldiers. And there it is. On the horizon, a low, undulating line of green, shrouded in a hazy mist. It is Cuba, the home of your enemy, the place where you will make your stand. As the sun rises, the island takes shape, a wild, untamed land of dense jungle and towering palms. The air, which had been salty and cool at sea, now carries the scent of humid earth and decaying leaves. This is it. This is what you came for. The anxiety, the frustration, the seasickness, it all melts away, replaced by a fierce, undeniable thrill. You are here. You are a Rough Rider. And you are about to step onto the battlefield. The sun rises and you are here. The island is a low, undulating line of green on the horizon, shrouded in a hazy mist. It is Cuba, the home of your enemy, the place where you will make your stand. The anxiety, the frustration, the seasickness, it all melts away, replaced by a fierce, undeniable thrill. The air, which had been salty and cool at sea, now carries the scent of humid earth and decaying leaves. This is it. This is what you came for. You are a Rough Rider, and you are about to step onto the battlefield. The convoy of ships, a makeshift armada of transports and warships, comes to a slow, deliberate halt a few hundred yards off the Cuban coast. You can see the shoreline now, a small village named Daiquiri, with a rickety pier and a series of dilapidated huts. The beach itself is a crescent of yellow sand, framed by a dense, tangled green that seems to swallow the landscape. The water is a brilliant, crystalline blue, a sharp and shocking contrast to the drab, grimy chaos of the ships. The disembarking is not the orderly, heroic spectacle you might have imagined. It's a mad, desperate scramble. The Yucatan is too big to get close to shore, so you are told to climb down the side of the ship on a rope ladder. The wind whips at your uniform and the ship's hull sways with a sickening, lazy rhythm. You look down and see the water, a deceptively clear turquoise, and the tiny figures of men already in the shallows. A wave of fear, cold and sharp, cuts through the humid air. You've never been a strong swimmer. The thought of falling into that churning water, weighed down by your gear and rifle, is a waking nightmare. But there is no time for fear. A man behind you is pushing, shouting to move. You grab the rope, its coarse fibres biting into your palms, and begin to descend. You get to the bottom and drop the last few feet into the water. The shock of the cold, a welcome jolt. You slog through the shallows, the sand sucking at your boots with a muddy, determined grip. You are a part of a long, serpentine line of men, all moving toward the shore, their bodies bent under the weight of their packs, their faces set with a grim purpose. Your rifle, a precious and vital extension of yourself, is held high, a beacon of metal and wood above the water. You finally reach the beach, collapsing onto the warm, sun-baked sand. You lie there for a moment, panting, the water dripping from your uniform, your body shaking from the exertion and the adrenaline. Big Al, his face red and his chest heaving, collapses beside you. "Well," he gasps, "that's one way to get to a party." A few hundred yards away, Roosevelt is already on the beach, his hat still perfectly in place, his face a mask of resolute fury. He is shouting orders, directing the men, his energy a constant, unending force. The chaos on the beach is monumental. There are no piers, no docks, just a long, messy line of men, mules and supplies. The mules, terrified by the sea and the noise, are in a frenzy. One of them, its eyes wild with terror, bucks and throws its cargo of ammunition crates into the water. The men curse and shout, trying to recover the lost supplies, but it's a losing battle. The sheer inefficiency of the operation is a testament to the lack of planning. But you are a part of it, and you have to make the best of it. You fall into line with your company, your boots sinking into the wet, spongy ground. The air is thick with the scent of salt water, wet sand, and the faint, sweet smell of rotting vegetation. The heat, even in the morning, is a physical presence, a tangible force that presses down on you, making every movement an effort. The march begins, not on a wide, open road, but on a narrow, twisting trail carved out of the jungle. The jungle itself is a monstrous living thing. It's a cathedral of green, the canopy so dense that only a few shafts of light manage to penetrate the gloom. The air is alive with the hum of insects, the chattering of unseen monkeys, and the hiss of snakes. The trail is a slick, muddy ribbon of roots and rocks, and you find yourself constantly stumbling, constantly fighting to keep your balance. The humidity is oppressive, and your uniform, which had been damp from the sea, is now soaked with sweat. You begin to hear the stories. A few days ago, before you arrived, a small force of Marines landed at Guantanamo Bay. They were fighting just to hold their beachhead against the Spanish. Now the stories are of the Spanish, of their guerrilla tactics, of their knowledge of this jungle that is now your enemy. The men around you fall silent, a new kind of fear creeping into their eyes. On the open plains of Texas, you knew where your enemy was. Here, in this green, claustrophobic world, they could be anywhere. And then you hear it. The sound is not the roar of a cannon or the crack of a rifle. It's a high, insect-like buzz, a whisper of death passing over your head. The sound is the Spanish Mauser bullet, and it's unlike anything you've ever heard. It's a sonic warning, a fleeting, almost beautiful sound that tells you that death is near. You hit the dirt, your heart hammering against your ribs. The man next to you, a quiet rancher from New Mexico, doesn't move fast enough. A bullet finds its mark with a sickening thwomp, and he is still, a still, lifeless figure on the muddy trail. The officer's voice, strained and panicked, cuts through the tense silence. "Hold your fire! Hold your fire! They're in the trees! His order is a lifeline!" A fragile thread holding the line together. You all learn a valuable lesson in that moment. The enemy is an invisible, silent predator, and you are the prey. The battle is no longer a glorious charge, it's a waiting game, a game of endurance and terror. The march continues, the rhythm of your boots a steady, monotonous beat against the ground. The sun rises higher in the sky, and the heat becomes a physical burden. Your canteen is half empty, and the lukewarm water is no longer refreshing. You're exhausted, your body aching, but you can't stop. To stop is to be left behind. To stop is to die. You look around at your comrades, their faces gaunt, their eyes hollow. You see the fear, but you also see the resolve. You are all in this together, a bond forged in the crucible of shared suffering. Then you see them, a flash of dark blue and a glint of brass in the distance. The men of the 10th and 24th Infantry, the Buffalo Soldiers, they are a welcome sight. They are disciplined, they are battle-hardened, and they are here to fight. You and your regiment fall in beside them. The two forces a powerful and strange amalgamation of a nation's military and its rebellious spirit. You can't speak to them, but you share a look of grim acknowledgement. You are all on the same team now. The jungle gives way to open terrain, and you find yourself standing on a wide ridge of hills, not tall or imposing, but a formidable barrier nonetheless. There are two hills, Kettle Hill and behind it San Juan Hill. The Spanish are dug in, their trenches a black scar on the green landscape. You can hear the distant, constant rumble of cannon fire and the faint, rhythmic crackle of rifles. The battle has already begun. You are standing on the precipice of history, and the sound of war is your only greeting. You stand there for what feels like an eternity, but must only be minutes. The sound of the battle a low, constant roar. You are a sitting duck, exposed on this wide-open plain, and the tension is a physical weight, heavier than your rifle and your haversack combined. The Mauser bullets continue to whisper death over your head, and the ground around you is constantly being torn up by a relentless, invisible rain of lead. You hunker down, a part of a nervous, anxious mass of men, waiting for an order that seems like it will never come. And then you see him. A figure on a horse, with glasses and a broad-brimmed hat, a man whose energy is a force of nature. It's Roosevelt. He rides back and forth along the lines, his voice a magnificent, passionate roar. He is not just giving an order, he is calling out to your courage, to your desire to be a part of something great. He points his hand toward the hills, and you hear the bugle call, a sharp, piercing sound that cuts through the din of battle. It is a sound of destiny. You don't need to be told twice. Your fear is replaced by a wild, fanatical energy. You begin to run, your legs pumping, your heart hammering against your ribs. Your rifle is heavy in your hands, but you hold it low, a part of a disorganized but unstoppable force. The ground is slick with mud, the grass is wet, and you stumble, but you don't fall. You are part of a massive, roiling tide of men, all charging forward with a single purpose, to get to the top of that hill. The Mauser fire intensifies, a terrifying, rhythmic crump, crump, crump. Bullets whistle past your head, and you see the men around you go down, their bodies twisting in a final, agonizing dance. You see a man to your left fall, a red smear blooming across his chest. You want to stop, to help him, but you can't. To stop is to die. You keep running, your gaze fixed on the crest of the hill. As you get closer, you see the Spanish trenches. They are a black scar on the green landscape, and you can see the faces of the soldiers now, a mixture of fear and determination. You can see the muzzle flashes of their rifles, little pinpricks of light in the smoke-filled air. You are a part of the greatest charge in your country's history, and you are a part of a living, breathing machine of war. You reach the crest of the hill and jump into the trench. The smell of gun smoke and blood is a thick, nauseating cloud. The fighting is frantic, brutal, and utterly without mercy. You see Big Al, his face a mask of rage, engaged in a hand-to-hand fight with a Spanish soldier. You see your moment, you use your rifle as a club, and you bring it down with a vicious swing. The Spanish soldier goes limp, and the battle is over for him. The fight is over almost as quickly as it had begun. The Spanish soldiers, overwhelmed and demoralized, throw down their weapons and surrender. The sound of gunfire dies down, replaced by the low moans of the wounded. You stand panting, your lungs on fire, your body shaking with a combination of exhaustion and adrenaline. The world is a blur of smoke and blood. You look out over the field below. The ground is littered with bodies, both American and Spanish. You see Roosevelt then, standing on the crest of the hill, his arms raised in triumph. He is shouting, his voice hoarse, but his face is alight with the pure, unadulterated joy of victory. He looks not like a soldier, but like a hero, a myth made real. And you, standing in the blood and the sweat and the smoke, feel a surge of pride that you had been a part of it. You are a Rough Rider. You have just fought and won the most important battle of your life.